When we think of notions of human rights, we often think of individual freedoms. Those things referred to as civil liberties or civil rights. These are rights that an individual has against a very powerful government or state. However, in the notion of human rights, we can also have collective rights. And in these recent decades, there's been more and more emphasis on these collective rights. So where did these collective rights begin? Well, we would have to go back to, even philosophically speaking, Aristotle to claim these ideas of the common good. Aristotle, of course, was interested in the polis, which was social in nature and included citizens. But the polis also had a higher good. This good he called eudaimonia. In fact, the idea that society as a whole has its own common interests and should therefore look for a higher goal of working together would be taken up again in the idea called the common heritage of mankind. Now that idea, of course, we relate more to the high seas and to outer space. However, we can also use this idea of the common heritage of mankind when we talk about the use of natural resources and environmental justice. We should think about our natural resources and those things that are scarce in the idea of the common heritage of mankind. And in this way, we can take those principles that are related to the common heritage of mankind and adopt them in our understanding of how we should interact and deal with the other parts of our planet. That is to say, with plants and animals, with the non-human kind. And so we then have this idea of collective rights that relate not just to all humans, but also to non-humans alike that occupy the planet with us. Keeping this in mind then, what does it mean and what are those principles of the common heritage of mankind? One principle is that the public and the private cannot appropriate the common heritage of mankind for themselves and for their own benefit. And if we can imagine that our natural resources, which are scarce, should not be used without consultation with the entire society, we might be able to find ways to see it as something that is common to all, and therefore the conversations and discourse must include all. Finally, one very, very important principle of using what's in the common heritage for mankind is that it must be preserved for future generations. And it's this last principle that I think is so important, because as we think about what we need to do going forward with our planet, we have to think about how to preserve it. And that requires a lot of resources in science and in technology as we think together. And it also requires for us to think about the perspectives of non-humans, of the plants and the animals that also inhabit the planet